The MOP Booleans panel cutters assembly has been updated to version 3, and if you're wondering where the video for version 2 is, I didn't think it was worth making a video for, so I'm just going to go over all that in this video. So the most important feature is that the UI now shows all the stuff for our panel operations as well. So if I were to click this MOP panel here, you can see what the current assignment is, and I can change it to whatever I want. You also notice that there's this wide subtract panel here, which wasn't in version 1, and this just does a subtract with a panel around it. To be completely honest, I've only ever had to use it once, but it's there if you want to use it. Now what version 3 does is it introduces this MOP mix layer, and what this allows you to do is have multiple different operations happen in the same object. So for example, if I wanted this shape to be a union, and I wanted this cylinder to be a subtract, I could do that normally. But if I wanted to move both of these shapes at once, I would have to go into object mode and select both of these, and then I could move them, which is a pain. So instead what we can do is we can move these over to the MOP mix layer and give it the appropriate tag so that it will work. So if I were to run the appropriate macros, this mix sub here, you can't see it happening because our union is happening after this sub. But let's move this out of the way over here, and you can see it is doing the subtract. And then I could take this shape over here and run the mix union macro, and it moves it over to the mix layer, and it does a union. So now if I wanted to move both of these objects, let's say I'm in my base layer, I can just go to my mix layer, and I could select all these polygons and move them. If you wanted to, you could actually also just take your base object and move it to your mix layer as well. So if we cut this, and we go to our MOP mix and we paste it, you'll see that it's kind of messed up because our mix layers settings aren't set to the right thing. If we go to our user channels, you'll see that we have a boolean for every one of these operations we could do. If we check the default base mix, you'll see that it now shows up. So if you really wanted to, you could work entirely in your mix layer and not move any of your meshes to your other layers, but I don't recommend it because it gets hard to select stuff if you have a lot of overlapping geometry, and it's a lot slower. By the way, in case you're wondering what these macros actually do, they're really simple. All they do is move it over to the mix layer. They set the polygon tag to be whatever it needs to be, and then it sets the appropriate boolean value to be true. So if you have a lot of these and you decide you don't want this to be a mix 1 anymore, you want it to be like a mix 4, this mix sub here will still be checked, so it's up to you to uncheck it. It's not going to cause any errors if you don't uncheck it, but it does slow it down slightly. And if you're wondering what the appropriate tags are, they're next to the name of the layer. The reason we don't use D as one of the tags, by the way, is because Modo checks tags against each other really weird, and anything that has the default tag also counts as having D, which is why we skip over that. It's also why we don't use the names of the actual operation as the tag, because then Modo gets confused about which one should be in which layer, and trust me, this is just better. Also, in order to get this form to show up, you have to replace the original form that came with MOP Booleans. So one of the files this comes with is a pp_mop_form.cfg. You would just take that, paste it into your MOP Booleans configs folder. By the way, I double checked all of these, but looking at this mess, it is possible that something didn't get connected properly, so if something doesn't work, please let me know and I'll try to fix it as soon as possible. Well, that's it for this video, and hopefully the time I put into making this wasn't wasted and that you find this useful.